On October 8, 2025, the world lost a woman whose grace under fire defined an era, the elegant, resilient Joan Bennett Kennedy, who slipped away peacefully in her sleep at the age of 89, leaving behind a legacy woven from the threads of love, loss, and unyielding spirit. As tributes pour in from the remnants of Camelot's inner circle, from her devoted children to admirers who saw in her the quiet strength behind a political dynasty, we pause to remember not just the first wife of Senator Ted Kennedy, but a soul who navigated the tempests of fame, addiction, and heartbreak with a poise that touched countless lives. Born Virginia Joan Bennett on September 2, 1936, in the leafy suburbs of Riverdale, New York, Joan was the picture of poised potential from her earliest days, a young woman whose fingers danced across piano keys as effortlessly as they would later charm Washington drawing rooms. Today, in this emotional reflection, we'll trace the arc of her extraordinary life, her cause of death, the family that anchored her, the net worth she quietly amassed, the lifestyle that blended glamour with grit, and the biography of a woman who, against all odds, emerged as a beacon of quiet advocacy. This isn't a cold chronicle, it's a heartfelt ode to Joan, a reminder that even in the shadow of legends, one woman's melody can echo eternally. Picture a young Joan, raised in the embrace of a solid Roman Catholic family in Bronxville, New York, where the Hudson River's gentle flow mirrored the steady rhythm of her upbringing. Her father, Harry Wiggin Bennett Jr., was a successful advertising executive, a man whose sharp mind and warm heart provided the stability that shaped her, long evenings filled with stories of his travels, instilling in her a curiosity about the world beyond their suburban haven. Her mother, Virginia Joan Stead, was the heart of the home, a devoted homemaker whose own name Joan carried like a cherished heirloom, passing down not just genes but a deep-seated faith and an unshakable sense of grace. With two sisters, Candace and Prudence, Joan grew up in a household buzzing with feminine energy, sisterly confidences whispered over tea, family dinners laced with laughter, and the soft strains of classical music drifting from the living room where young Joan first discovered her passion for the piano. It was a childhood of privilege tempered by expectation, summers at the family home in Millbrook, New York, where she'd wander apple orchards and lose herself in Beethoven sonatas, dreaming of stages far grander than the local recital hall. Manhattanville College in Purchase, New York, beckoned next, a Catholic women's institution where Joan honed her intellect and her art, studying music and emerging as a poised sorority sister with a modeling sideline that caught eyes in New York City's glittering fashion scene. She wasn't just beautiful, tall, blonde, with eyes that held a quiet intelligence, she was alive with possibility, a 22-year-old classical pianist whose fingers promised symphonies when fate introduced her to a certain ambitious law student at the University of Virginia. That chance encounter in 1958 would propel her into a whirlwind romance, a wedding in Bronxville's historic Presbyterian Church on November 29, and a life forever intertwined with the Kennedy legend. Joan's early years weren't marked by tragedy, but by the subtle forging of a resilience that would serve her through storms unimaginable, her family's love a compass pointing toward a horizon she could scarcely foresee. From that sun-dappled Virginia lawn where she met Ted Kennedy, a dashing, driven son of privilege with a laugh that could disarm a room, Joan's life accelerated into the fast lane of American royalty. They married young, she 22 and he 26, in a ceremony that blended her family's understated elegance with the Kennedys' magnetic pull, Rose Kennedy herself beaming approval at the bride who seemed the perfect counterpoint to her son's fire. The couple settled in Boston, where Ted's political ascent began, and Joan, ever the supportive partner, became the gracious hostess of their Virginia Road home, a federal-style gem in the heart of the city that buzzed with strategy sessions and symphony soirees. Their first child, Cara Ann, arrived on February 27, 1959, a bundle of joy with her mother's fair hair and her father's spark, filling their world with the soft cries and coos that grounded even the most harried campaign nights. Ted Jr. followed on September 26, 1961, a sturdy boy whose early battles with bone cancer, diagnosed at age 2, enduring surgeries that left him with a prosthetic leg, tested Joan's mettle like nothing else, her nights spent at Children's Hospital in Boston, humming lullabies through the pain, vowing silently that her son's spirit would soar unbroken. Patrick Joseph came last, on July 14, 1967, the baby who brought levity to a family already scarred by the assassinations of John and Robert Kennedy, his playful energy a balm amid the grief that shadowed Hyannisport's summers. But Joan's family extended beyond blood. Ted's siblings became hers, Eunice's fierce advocacy mirroring her own quiet determination, Sergeant Shriver's wit lightening her load during endless fundraisers. Yet, as Ted's Senate career rocketed, so did the strains. The 1969 Chappaquiddick scandal, where Joan stood by him publicly even as private anguish over miscarriages, one heartbreakingly soon after the incident, gnawed at her soul. She miscarried 3 times, each loss a silent scream in the opulent isolation of their life, yet she smiled for the cameras, her piano a refuge where Chopin's nocturnes drowned the what-ifs. The children grew into echoes of their parents. Cara, the poised public relations was who married into the melon fortune yet fought her own lung cancer demon until it claimed her at 51 in 2011. Ted Jr., the Connecticut state senator and advocate for disability rights, his legacy fueling a career of empathy. Patrick, the Rhode Island congressman turned mental health crusader, whose own struggles with addiction mirrored his mother's, forging a bond of shared redemption. Joan's devotion never wavered, even after separation in 1978 and divorce in 1982, she remained the family's North Star, attending Ted's 2009 funeral with a dignity that silenced skeptics, her hand steady on her children's shoulders. The Kennedys weren't flawless, infidelity rumors swirled, alcoholism crept in like fog off the Cape, but Joan's love was the constant, a fierce, forgiving force that held them through the dynasty's darkest dawns. Today, with Ted long gone since 2009, and Cara's absence a lingering ache, Ted Jr. and Patrick carry her torch, their voices in halls of power a testament to the mother who taught them that vulnerability is the truest strength. Her family wasn't just a unit, it was her symphony, notes of joy and sorrow harmonizing into something profoundly human. Joan's lifestyle, it was a delicate dance between the spotlight's glare and the solace of solitude, a world where White House galas rubbed shoulders with quiet afternoons at the keyboard, her days a mosaic of glamour laced with the grit of personal reckoning. As Ted's wife, she glided through the corridors of power with effortless poise, red carpet events at the Kennedy Center, where she'd chat with Leonard Bernstein about Brahms over champagne flutes, sailing off Hyannisport, wind whipping her scarf as the children hooped from the deck, the Atlantic a canvas for family snapshots that masked the undercurrents. She was the Kennedy wife who hosted with warmth, her Boston home a hub for diplomats and dreamers, tables groaning under lobster bisque and her signature lemon tarts, laughter echoing off walls lined with her own watercolors. Modeling in her youth had schooled her in elegance, poses for Harper's Bazaar, runway struts that honed her carriage, but music was her true mistress, a classically trained pianist whose fingers coaxed emotion from ivory keys and recitals that drew hushed applause. Post-divorce, her life softened into advocacy. She taught music to underprivileged children in Boston's inner city, her Manhattanville alumna network funding scholarships that opened doors she'd once walked through unbidden. Yet, the shadows loomed large. Alcoholism, that insidious thief, stole years in a haze of rehab stints at Hazelden and McLean, public slips during Ted's 1980 presidential bid that tabloids devoured like chum. Imagine the isolation, a senator's wife, camera-ready by day, unraveling alone at night, the weight of Camelot's curse pressing like an off-key chord. She emerged phoenix-like, sober since the 90s, channeling pain into purpose, authoring The Joy of Classical Music in 1992, a slim volume that shared her love for the arts with a warmth that felt like a fireside chat. Her later years were gentler, walks along the Charles River, brunches with Ted Jr.'s family where grandchildren's giggles drowned old ghosts, volunteer hours at music therapy programs for the disabled, echoing Patrick's causes. Joan traveled sparingly, pilgrimages to Salzburg for Mozart festivals, quiet retreats to her Millbrook family home where she'd play for her sisters, Candace and Prudence, their bond a lifeline through widowhood's quiet. She shunned ostentation, preferring cashmere sweaters from Brooks Brothers to couture, her style a nod to old money restraint, pearls from Ted's courtship, a simple gold cross from her mother. Evenings might find her at the Boston Symphony, eyes closed in rapture, or curled with a biography of Jacqueline du Pré, cello in hand and spirit. Her lifestyle wasn't one of excess but of quiet reclamation, gardens tended with care, letters penned to old friends, a life rebuilt note by aching note. Through it all, Joan's emotional core shone, resilient, reflective, a woman who turned personal symphonies of strife into anthems of hope, reminding us that true elegance lies not in perfection, but in the courage to play on. Financially, Joan's world was one of inherited security blended with self-made savvy, her net worth settling around $20 million by the time of her passing, a fortune not flaunted but felt in the freedoms it afforded her quiet pursuits. The Kennedy settlement post-divorce was generous, a lump sum and ongoing support that reflected Ted's enduring regard, allowing her to maintain the Boston brownstone on Beacon Hill where she spent her final days, its fireplaces crackling with memories. Investments in blue-chip stocks, advised by family trusts, grew steadily, dividends from Kennedy real estate ventures in Hyannisport, a stake in the family's publishing arm that profited from Ted's memoirs. Her own earnings added layers, modeling residuals from her youth, royalties trickling from her book that introduced classical grades to armchair enthusiasts, speaking fees from women's groups and music foundations where she'd share tales of resilience over tea. Advocacy paid dividends too, board seats at the National Music Center, grants for her scholarship fund that bore her name, turning passion into philanthropy. Joan wasn't extravagant, her wealth whispered in subtle ways, a grand piano shipped from Vienna for her living room, annual flights to Europe for master classes, endowments ensuring her grandchildren's educations echoed her own at Manhattanville. Trusts protected the bulk, shielding it from tabloid vultures, while she tithed quietly to Catholic charities and addiction recovery programs, her giving a silent symphony of gratitude. At 89, that $20 million wasn't a trophy but a testament to a life navigated with dignity, where money served the music, the family, the quiet fight for second chances. It spoke of a woman who, amid dynasty's dazzle, built her own ledger of grace. And so we come to the tender close of Joan's chapter, her cause of death a gentle exhale after a lifetime of crescendos and codas. On that fateful October morning in 2025, surrounded by the familiar walls of her Boston sanctuary, the same rooms where she'd rehearsed wedding vows and rocked colicky infants, Joan slipped into eternity in her sleep, her heart giving way to natural causes at the ripe age of 89. No fanfare, no final aria, just the peaceful hush of a life fully lived, her body finally at rest after decades of defiant vitality. Family confirmed the news with a statement laced with love. She passed as she lived, serene, surrounded by the echoes of those she cherished. It was a far cry from the public battles that once defined her, a soft landing for a woman who'd weathered Chappaquiddick's gale, addiction's undertow, and the raw grief of burying her firstborn Kara. At 89, Joan had outlived Ted by 16 years, her siblings by whispers, even the scandals that once scarred her name. Cancer claimed Kara too soon, but Joan endured, her final years a bouquet of grandchildren's milestones and sunset sonatas. The cause, advanced age, perhaps a weary heart, carries no sting of surprise, only a profound ache for the void left in Boston's cultural tapestry, in the Kennedy lore where she was the unsung soprano. Tributes flooded in, Ted Jr. remembering her fingers that healed what words could not, Patrick hailing her as the family's quiet revolutionary, the Manhattanville community toasting the alumna who'd funded dreams for generations. Joan's passing isn't an end but an invitation, to honor her by listening closer to our own melodies, by reaching for the bottle's hand before it grips too tight, by loving fiercely through the fog. She leaves us not with questions, but with a score. Play boldly, forgive freely, let the music mend. Joan Bennett Kennedy's biography is a ballad of beauty and breakage, a woman's odyssey from New York recital halls to Washington whispers, from marital vows to solo refrains of redemption. Born to nurture and nurture in turn, she mothered a legacy that pulses in her son's Senate seats and advocacy aisles, her piano's legacy in classrooms where fingers falter no more. Her family, her fortress, her lifestyle, her liberation, her net worth, her quiet power, all culminating in a death as serene as her final nocturne. In her, we see the Kennedy myth humanized, the socialite sanctified, the survivor sainted. Joan taught us that life's grandest opera isn't flawless pitch, but the heart that dares to sing through silence. Her story lingers like a lingering chord, urging us to embrace our own encores with the same unbowed grace. If Joan's melody has stirred something deep within you today, as it has me, please Please take a moment to subscribe for more stories that celebrate lives like hers, resilient, real, resonant, and give this video a like to help her light shine a little brighter. Thank you for joining me in this tender tribute. Hold your loved ones close, and let the music play on.